Hello and welcome to Froch and Fighting with me, Carl the Cobra Froch, 4-time world boxing champion, Hall of Famer, and, do you know?
80,000, mate. Don't forget the 80,000 at Wembley. Don't forget that.
He's not been prepped, he knows. Anyway,
when you paused then, I was like, I know what he wants. I know what he wants.
Anyway, I'm catching up with my good pal, Ant Middleton. What a unit you are. Listen, two alpha males in the same room, in the same building.
Come on.
We're not intimidated. There's nobody that can. Anyway, this is going to be a great episode. Enjoy. Whilst I've got you here, don't forget to hit subscribe. And this episode is brought to you by Cobra Casino. So, Ant, you're out here living now, living in Dubai. You finding it all right? Is it too hot in the summer?
Do you know what, mate? I'm bouncing between the UK and Australia, so it's a nice centralised hub.
Yeah.
12, 13 hours to Oz, 7, 8 hours to the UK. It's safe for the kids love it, the family loves it, and I love it, to be fair. Do you know what? There's no BS, there's no drama here. You just get on with what you do and live your life, mate. So I'm loving it here.
You love it, yeah?
Yeah.
Acclimatised well, kids are at school.
100%. I need to get you out here. You need to get out here, mate.
Potentially. I'm looking at it. I don't know which direction the UK is going at the minute. I don't know where it's going. People talk about if Labour get in or we're all screwed. So I don't want to go too political, but I'm certainly looking at all the places. I've got a nice place in Spain, as you know, in Marbella. I've always looked at there, but home's home in England. My mum's there, my stepdad and my family are there, my friends. So
do you know what I love about the UK? I love the people of the UK. That's what I miss. I love that banter. I love the rawness. I love the realness. I love the patriotism. So that's what I miss about the UK is the people. But when it comes to the country, the leadership's a mess. You know, everything is just unorganised and a bit chaotic. So, you know, I'm happy to sort of step outside of it for the minute.
There was I heard a rumour that I know that's obviously not happening, but you was thinking about going into politics because there's a couple of people now talking about, like a guy called Brian Rose, running for London Mayor.
I think the country in a whole, you know, being led by London, the capital is just going down and down, and until they start putting some proper leadership in place, not just tick boxing, but some proper leadership in place, people that love the country, that want to do right by the people, then it's going to carry on in one direction, and that's downhill.
Just think it's almost like it's too far gone now to come back, maybe. A lot of people.
And do you know what? I'm not running from it. It's not that I'm running from it, but I just want a better life for my family. I want to be able to just move around freely and just not be sort of criticised on what I can say, what I can do, and just be me, which here in Dubai I can do exactly that.
Well, we'll probably touch on that in a minute in terms of criticism and what you can say and what you can't do because of the old cancel culture thing, which again, politics, don't want to go too much. That's not what Froch and Fighting's about. Froch and Fighting's about boxing, fighting, and a little bit of banter. But that's just how it's got for you. There came a stage, wasn't there, where you were smashing it on SAS Who Dares Wins on Channel 4. And then now you've ended up on SAS Australia, and you seem to be thriving out in Australia. Was that a decision that you made yourself, or was you forced? Because there was a lot of stuff in the paper saying, Ant Middleton's been sacked from Channel 4.
Cancelled.
His contract's been cancelled. What's the story behind that?
Do you know what's the typical council culture? You know, trial by media, and what I think is happening, people are seeing through that now. People are seeing through the whole trial by media. You know, with my case, it was just I saw the direction of SAS going in a different direction, if that makes sense, in a different way. I just wanted to keep it real, wanted to keep it authentic, and the way that it was going in the UK, it didn't sit well with me. So I decided to sort of push back on it or go head to head with it, which then ultimately led me to being pushed before I could jump. I was leaving SAS Who Dares Wins in the UK, and that got about, and it's a business at the end of the day. Is Ant Middleton bigger than SAS Who Dares Wins, or are we bigger than, or is SAS Who Dares Wins bigger than Ant Middleton? So I got pushed before I could jump, and which ultimately led to me sort of bouncing over to Australia, and being allowed to run my own ship there, being allowed to run my own course. Because SAS, what it's about, I run a course, the production company film it, and the channel, along with the production company, turn it into a show. I don't have the show, but when they try and run a show from day one, then it becomes scripted, it becomes a bit unauthentic, unreal, and people see through it. So that's
the
what
thing.
happened with me.
When you was running it, it was authentic. My best friend Adam, you've met Adam.
Yeah.
He sent me a message. Have you seen this SAS Who Dares Wins on Channel 4? I think you'd love it. And I'm not big on mainstream television. I'm not really too fussed about tuning into stuff like that. right turn, Clyde. Bosh. Remember that film? So I give it a look anyway.
Yeah.
And I loved it from the start because you was hard as fuck, telling it out here, swearing, not swearing for the sake of it, but getting emotionally involved with the recruits or the people that are taking part in your task, if you like. And it felt authentic and organic and real, even though it's not. Yes, it's not P Company, it's not Parachute Regiment, it's not the Marines.
UK selection process, it's just the mindset.
Special boat. By the way, for those of you who don't know, and shame on you if you don't know, but Anne Middleton's got the Holy Trinity, which is the
Paras.
The
P
Paras.
Company.
I've done P Company, not properly, but me and my best friend Adam enlisted.
Right.
So I did all the training for P
that.
Company, and I couldn't do they wouldn't let me do the parachute jumps and that because I've had my ACL reconstructed. We was doing a documentary from ring to regiment.
Yeah, I remember
so
that.
I did the 10-mile tab-in with I think it's only a 35-pound Bergen for the P Company. It's a lot more for the Marines.
Yes, lighter but faster for the Paras and sort of heavier, and I wouldn't say slower, but just a yomping sort of pace.
Yeah, I did the 1.5 miles in under, I think it was like 10 minutes or something.
Right,
that was horrible. And I was quite fit as well, but that was hard for me. I was fit because I'd not long sort of finished.
With the Paras, it's short and sharp and aggressive. With the Marines, it's long endurance, more thinking. Yeah. So they're definitely different.
So that 35-pound Bergen that I had on the 10 mile and on the Paras. In the Marines, I thought it was. I think it's an 80 pound. Is it 80-pound Bergen?
It's 55 plus food and water, but on selection it's 80 to 100 pounds.
The 35-pound Bergen tabbing for 10 miles is torturous. So I don't know how you could double that weight and still do it. But like I say, it's more endurance.
It's more endurance.
And short and sharp. Yeah. Not that 10 miles is short and sharp with that thing on your back. Because
it's a 30 miler in the Marines.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. See, and then in the Special Forces, the main one is a 40 miler. Or 42, 64 kilometres. So
you've done P Company, which is the parachute. Yeah. And you've done Marines. Yeah. And you've done Special Boat Services.
That's right. The UK Special Forces selection process, which is both the SAS and SBS selection process.
Now, when I call people a machine, it genuinely is a fucking machine, proper machine, mate. How many tours have you done?
I've done lots of tours, but my last 3 tours of Afghanistan. So I've done 2008. 2007, 2008 and 2010. Yeah. So I've done 3 back-to-back tours of Afghan. I've done Northern Ireland, Macedonia.
Fascinating. Some of the stories I've spoke about with Anne, which we're not going to go into now, some of the stuff when he was on tour, some of the positions he'd been in, some of the scrapes, just unbelievable. Like fucking, if you could write a film about it and people would think that's too far-fetched.
But it's pure combat. It's pure combat, and that's why I love boxing. Any sort of arena-based combat.
Well, that brings me on to a question that I've actually got here. I wanted to ask you the similarities between being an elite special forces soldier, or even just a regular soldier, and any kind of correlation with being a professional boxer, not just a professional athlete in this sport, actual combat fighting. Yeah. Do you see similarities?
Loads. That's why I love supporting boxing. I love supporting the UFC. Because you're entering a battlefield, I call it a battlefield. You're entering an arena, a coliseum, whatever you want to call the ring, right? And you need to be disciplined in order to do that. You need to, know yourself inside out. From your emotions, how you're going to feel when you're going to get flattened or when you're going to hit the deck. How you're going to get back up from that. It's not about just getting in there and boxing and dodging the punch. It's about when you do get flattened, how are you going to cope with that? How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to get come back from that psychologically and emotionally. And that's what I love about boxing, because you never know, and Mike Tyson said it best, you've always got a plan until you get hit in the face. But it's like that on the battlefield. We've got a plan, we've got a structure, but the moment we go and we breach that compound and that first bullet gets fired, we don't know if it's going to hit my pal, if we're going to be the ones doing it, then the plan sort of is moulded, it's adaptable.
The difference with boxing and you, with me, it was getting knocked down in round 3 against Jermaine Taylor and then climbing off the canvas, changing your tactics. And then I got that stoppage in the last round. As you know, he's seen the Taylor cut.
I've seen the Cobra.
And the George Groves one, dropped in the first round, and then, I'm in a fight now, I've got to adapt. But with your game, one of your compadres is going to get shot in the arm, or is going to stand on an improvised explosive device.
It's the same thing, right?
It's more brutal, though.
Yeah, it's more brutal, but it's the same concept.
Mind-wise.
Mind-wise, right? It's a mindset. That's what it is. And it's being disciplined enough to ignore that distraction and emotionally intelligent enough to go, right, the shit's hit the fan. Things are going wrong. Now, in order to get out of this hole, I need to really switch on now. It almost switches you on to a level of laser focus that you could never have if you just sail through life, happy days, everything goes right for you. It's those moments where you really get hit, and that you have to pull it together, and that's what makes the man, right? That's what makes the individual. Those moments there, and that's why, again, Hall of Famer. You've hit the Hall of because you've had an outstanding career, but no, I'm really, really proud, mate, when you've done that. I don't think the UK recognised how big a thing that is. When
I do think if I was an American, I'd be celebrated more. I do
when
agree
you got
with
indoctrinated and I saw them pictures, I was like, wow, to be up there with your Mike Tysons, your Evander Holyfields, with your Muhammad Ali, that's huge, right?
And it was nice to get. I got an honorary lunch last week. Colin Hart from The Sun put an honorary lunch on in London. It came like a year later. Jeff Powell was there. A few people from the different members of the press, and that was really nice to get acknowledged. But you're right. I feel like it did slip under the radar a little bit, but
it did.
I'm doing my own thing now with Froch on Fighting. I don't do much, if anything, with Sky anymore. I do a little bit with DAZN, when my friend from Nottingham fights, Lee Wood. I've been on there a bit, but I do a lot with TalkSport Radio, which I enjoy, because you sit ringside, you watch the fights, and you get a lot of airtime, and you get a lot of people listening as well. You get millions of listeners, so I enjoy that. But I love doing this now. So similar to with you, with SAS Who Dares Wins, and you got pushed in a direction you didn't want to go. Well, I was being sort of steered in a narrative, having to go along with a narrative that I didn't particularly fully agree with, or even having to follow a certain political agenda, which I won't go into, no politics, but a certain political agendas that I didn't want to get involved in. I just wanted to go on there as a 4-time world champ, Hall of Famer, and talk about boxing. I didn't want to represent any kind of...
And you know your stuff, right?
Yeah, I know my stuff, I know a few things, but I didn't want to represent what I would consider to be a fucking bad idea, because there's some bad ideas out there. I don't want to push that bullshit, but I'm doing my own thing now.
Do you know what? I think people, especially in the UK, are seeing through the whole trial by media, that whole cancel culture, which isn't anything formal, nothing legal. You haven't gone. It's just it's trial by media, and I think that the UK, especially, I see it starting to see through it now. They're starting to go, right. What was all that about? Storming a teacup. Listen, it's the tick boxing exercises. They get on with it, and that's what happened with me in the UK. Just I had different ideas for the show. And
so are you saying there's two genders? Have you got the audacity to say there's two genders?
Of course there's two. 100% I've got the audacity to say there's two genders because there is two genders. So
that's what I tell my kids, believe it or not. Boy, girl. My two girls are girls and my boys are boys.
Yeah, but anyone with...
But there's been arguments about that, though, haven't there?
I know.
And things in
that's why I love it here in Dubai, right?
Because you
don't... No, it's they've got rules and regulations here. It's common sense prevails, discretion prevails, and it's a case of right.
I think you're right. What you said earlier, the world's not fucking buying it. It's coming out the other side, and it's starting to the stupidness and the bullshit.
It's not
it's starting to go away.
It's not sustainable, is it? Nothing.
Look
at the past couple of years, the absolute madness that's gone on. With your rioting, with your pandemics. It's like it's all coming to fruition. That it's all it's all absolute nonsense, and it's not sustained. It's non-sustainable, and people are starting to raise questions, and people are starting to be allowed to think for themselves. And I think that's hugely critical. The moment you can think for yourself, then you'll always stay true to who you are. Therefore, you can never fall into a black hole, into a lie, or into trying to dig yourself out of a hole, because you're being true to who you are. Your narrative will always be the same. Your beliefs will always be the same. Everyone has different beliefs. That's great. I don't judge you on yours. Don't judge me on mine. And I think the world's starting to come back to that a little bit.
Yeah. And you're not getting any of that nonsense whilst out in Australia doing your SAS. You're driving now away from your...
Well, if you look at the first SAS Who Dares Wins in the UK without me, the very first one that was filmed without me.
Without you, who was in the final?
Yeah,
there you go. You carry on.
Who got to the finale? So 4 women got to the finale, and nothing against that. 4 women got to the finale. 2 women passed. One was white, one was black, and it was like.
And that was the first one after you went.
Yeah, the first one, and the whole narrative that they were trying to push on me, it was so obvious, and people clicked onto that straight away. The amount of messages that I've got saying, right, Ant, we know now why you sort of went, or why you decided to pull yourself away from that. I just want to run an authentic course, which I'm being allowed to run in Australia, where capability and performance.
Yeah.
You know, are you capable of performing at such a high level of standards, you know, under extreme pressure, you know, stress, etc., etc. And are you capable? And can you perform at that level?
Yeah.
If you can, you're going to get to the end of the course, or you're going to pass the course. If
Regardless
you can't,
of what you look like or what your gender is.
I don't care what you look like, what your gender is, what your religion
Yeah.
is, what your ethnic background is. I don't care about that. But the moment that was pushed on me, it just got a little bit disjointed. And it was a case of like, right, this isn't what my format is about, because I wrote that course.
Yeah.
The first and second series, I wrote. The second series, I went out there by myself without all the other DS structured everything. Yeah, people don't know that, but that is the format that really worked. And now, as you can see, it's been axed by Channel 4, the original version with civilians, and that's because, you know, the moment you try and script or you try and produce it from a show point of view, rather than allowing the course to run itself. With myself, the chief instructor, then you're not going to get nowhere near what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, we've got a guy on there that just kind of looks like you. He's got a black beard and dark hair and quite muscular. You know.
Oh, my replacement.
Yeah. I was like, why didn't they go for someone different? They've got like the same look, so people are thinking, is that Ant or not?
Yeah, I know.
You know, people who
he's
don't
nowhere
quite-
near as good looking as me. But
I don't want to say
no,
that.
listen, I don't know him. So I know that he's obviously an American.
Yeah.
He was in an American.
No, I'm just saying it. Yeah.
US Marine.
I mean, listen, he's got credentials and he's from the
but
from
he's
the
not
American
special
army.
forces,
Not
so
special forces.
no, they're conventional
gravy.
forces. Yeah, different gravy. But listen,
It's like being a world champion
It is what it is.
and having one belt and never beaten a champion. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's certain world champions out there that are world champs. Then you've got 4-time world champ Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you got your tier ones.
Yeah.
And then you got your tier 3s, 4s, and whatever it may be.
So
And listen, there's no.
Usually the elite in your game.
Everyone serves a purpose, right? But the elite of the elite, and that's what the course is about. Is the UK Special Forces selection process. Do you possess the attributes and characteristics of a UK Special Forces operator? In order to do that, you have to have gone and passed United Kingdom Special Forces selection process, which I've done.
Yeah.
A fully fledged badged member of the United Kingdom Special Forces.
Is that the Holy Trinity? Is
No,
that what that is?
that's the UK selection process. The
Oh,
Holy
right, okay.
Trinity is a different, you know, it's just the elite of the, so you've got the
three
paras, the
special
Marines,
forces,
which are, you know, the elite of the conventional forces.
And the special boat
And then
services.
you've got the SAS and the SBS, which are the tier 1, the special
Right,
forces.
okay.
So that's why it's called the trilogy.
So
It's
if you
like-
took 1,000 Marines
Yeah,
and 1,000 paratroopers,
yeah.
how many of them are going to get into the
Probably,
SBS?
all in all, probably about 20, 25.
20?
Yeah,
Is that it?
if you're lucky. Yes, a 96% failure rate.
96% fail rate.
Yeah,
That's-
96, 97%
that's hardcore.
failure rate. Yeah, hardcore. It's hardcore, yeah.
My man.
That's why we're chatting. Tier 1, tier 1.
That's right. Right, so I want to ask you something actually. I don't know if I'm too happy about it.
Go on.
You picked my mate Tony Bellew, the bomber.
I didn't pick anyone.
Did you not?
I have nothing to do with the casting.
Because Tony
process.
Bellew, if you remember, was on SAS Who Dares Wins.
yeah.
And I kind of, I didn't want to go in, but I was sort of making myself, as you know, I said to you, oh, I might fancy that. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure actually. I don't think I'd like the interrogation at the end. You only got a blindfold and you're getting shouted at and dogs barking at you.
You'll be all right with that.
Yeah, I'd
Just
be
switch
all right,
off.
and then uncomfortable positions. I'd be able to switch off, but I just don't know if I'd want to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
If I was doing it for training to then go and
Yeah.
go and do a tour, I'm
Yeah,
like,
of
I need
course,
to go
yeah.
through
If
that,
there was
so
a
I'm
purpose
prepared.
behind it, yeah,
But
yeah.
just for the TV, and just, you know what I mean, I was like. But anyway,
it's not
Tony
just for
Bellew,
TV.
how did you find what in the
Listen, the course, it's my course. It's
people
just,
come out of that and
and
yeah,
you mentioned
actually
it before.
develops
You said
people,
you
doesn't
said
it?
the emotional connection, and you said that's what the course is about.
Yeah.
Is me getting in with you, stripping you down, identifying what emotions are positive
The
within
conversations you have
and
when you're in
negative,
there.
and dragging those negative ones and flipping them into a positive emotion. And that's what happened with Tony Bellew. You mentioned Tony Bellew.
Yeah.
God, he went in. I was sort of like this because I could feel the energy, the ticking time bomb in him.
Yeah.
And that course, I believe, not changed his life, but I believe it changed him for the better,
Yeah.
because I spent a lot of time really chipping away at him. And you see me shouting in his face, and not because I want to make good TV, because I haven't got that TV mentality in my head. It's because I've just been on a 10K run with him, casualty evacuation. He's lifting everyone. He's emotionally in there. I'm trying to get him through the moment. He's hyped up. So when he actually stood to me at the end, and because I was trying to tell him where he went wrong.
Yeah, 'cause you sort of faced him up in front of him.
He stepped into me, and I didn't step into him because I was like, I just stepped into him because I knew that he needed that. He needed for someone just to look him in the eye and just tell him how it is. You're not angry at me, Tony. You know what I mean? You're angry at yourself, and do you know what? And I'll make you right that you're angry at yourself because of this X, Y, and Z. And you could see sort of the moment I stepped into him, he probably never been challenged like that before, and he not challenged in a way where I'm going to have a straightener with him, but it's challenged in a way of he's actually here to do for me. I'm not here against him. I'm here for him.
Without that physical presence and being in his face, I don't think he'd have had the respect for you to then delve into that psychology of his, get into his head.
Absolutely.
So you got into his head. You give him time to think, and I think so when you say you come out of that a better person, you learn a lot about yourself on them courses.
But that's the core of the show. I have to be emotionally invested in you,
of course you do,
and you have to trust me with your emotions, right? Because that's one thing that can never be mistrusted and misguided is when you're playing with someone's emotions, and when you're playing with someone's headspace, right? So when you try and do that from a production point of view, when you're doing it from the sideline, you're going, oh, this might work. No, you don't understand. I'm literally in there. I've got their emotions. I've got their soul. Do you know what I mean? That can never be mistrusted or misguided, and that's what makes SAS the show that it is.
That's why it was so watchable and so enjoyable. Because of that, it wasn't so much the training and falling off bridges and abseiling down. That was good to watch.
Yeah, it's
when
good
they went
for the
back
visuals,
and the ref,
the fear-defying stuff.
They went into that room with you and the DS is there. Are you the DS?
Yeah.
Is that at the top?
Directing staff for the DS. I'm the chief instructor, so I run the team.
Once you get in front of them in the room and you get challenged verbally and you get asked to ask questions and answer questions, that's when you get into, like you say, the soul. And that's why it was so good. But anyway, you're doing that now. You're doing it in SAS Australia. And you're smashing it.
Yeah, loving it. They're loving it. The Aussies are great, mate. They're loving it. They're allowing me to roll with it. It's just going from strength to strength.
And it's strange how things work. Serendipity, if you like. All the celestial stars have aligned. And you've ended up doing what you're doing now. You're living in Dubai. Absolutely smashing it. I know you're loving the SAS Australia because you talk about it, and usually you won't talk about work, but you were telling me a few bits about it and how good it's going. So brilliant. Everything's worked out well for you, which is great.
No, it's good, mate. It's good. And also what I love about it is it just allows me to keep doing what I do best, and also it allows me to evolve the show how sort of I want to evolve it, because it's my DNA that's in it that makes the show from an emotional standpoint. So I'm loving Oz, mate. And also with the UK, I'm coming back to the UK. I've got a tour in October and November when I climb K2. So I'm going to talk about K2. I'm going to be talking about SAS Australia as well, and a few bits that I've done in Oz.
How many books out every time?
I've got a new book. I've just signed a new book deal with Hodders in the UK.
You signed a new book deal, but you didn't sign me a book.
I've got loads to sign.
Your books on the shelf. You got loads of books, haven't you? Loads. All different concepts.
All self-help, all fear-defying stuff. All to make you a better version of who you are, or at least attempt to. And my new one is I'm sort of going back to my military roots. So I'm going to be talking about the military mindset, the military emotional intelligence that you need in order to stay alive on a battlefield. So I've got a UK tour coming up October, November of this year. I've got a new book that should be released September, October time. And I've got my K2 documentary that's coming out, which I'm still...
What's that going to be on, do you know?
It's still working with UK distributors at the moment. But so I've got three big things coming back in the UK for 2024.
Yeah, brilliant. Can't wait to see it, and get me that book. What I was going to say, in terms of scrapping and fighting, you must have got in some scrapes and some fights. So you love boxing, street fights, and even not so much street fights, but I mean, I know...
I just iron bods out.
Just iron them out?
Yeah, listen. Boxing is a bit more technical, but I'm not a boxer. But if you want a straightener, if someone wants a straightener, I'm going to iron you out, full stop.
Is it an iron-out job, though, or is it a get oldie and take you to the ground job?
No, it's an iron-out job.
Is it? What, left or right hand?
I'm a right.
Is it a hook or an uppercut?
No, it's through the guard.
Straight down the pipe?
Straight down the pipe.
Boom.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be ironing me out anytime soon.
Listen, street fighting and in the ring is different. Listen,
yeah, but I don't mind a little street fight. I like a roll around on the cobbles.
Yeah, do you? Do you know what? Yeah, do you know what? I was just, when in my military days, mate, I used to love a little straightener. But
in your military days, when you was on tour, did you get in? Because there's some which, I don't know which book it was, but one of the chapters, you're on the ground. It's they call it guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
So you're going into rooms
Yeah.
that you don't know if you're going to come out of yet.
Yeah.
But do you go in them rooms sometimes with a knife or a pistol and just end up having a fight or grapple with somebody?
Not unless you've had a serious weapon
Problem.
malfunction.
Really?
So for me, I never used to use my secondary weapon. So my pistol, even if it was a small room, my pistol was my backup weapon only.
Yeah.
Because I had a small compressed C8, Canadian C8. It's like a carbine, and it's small enough to get into the rooms. It's a 5.56 caliber.
So many different weapons. Isn't it?
And I always used to use that. If I used to get a stoppage, then I'd go on my pistol.
Yeah.
And I also had a tertiary weapon, which I had an axe.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm on my axe, then I'm in serious trouble. You know, because I've got a whole team behind me.
Yeah.
So when I get a stoppage, anyway, if I was to get a stoppage,
When you say stoppage, what do you mean?
if a round or a bullet was to
So
jam in the
jammed,
weapon,
okay.
or the magazine was, you know, due to the dust or whatever, you know, you haven't cleaned your weapon properly, or whatever it may be.
So you can't fire a bullet.
Yes, you can't, so it stops.
Yeah.
Then normally my pal behind me would come and take my role, and then I'd transition onto my secondary weapon, onto my pistol.
Yeah.
Clear the room. Once it's room clear, I'd never continue on my pistol.
No.
It'd be right, pistol back in the holster, clear the stoppage, right, we're good to go. We're gonna say we just cleared the room, we're good to go.
Yeah.
A lot of people knew, and this is where the special forces is completely different, because if I was on my secondary weapon, my team would know that I'd have a stoppage.
Yeah.
So I'd never go looking, especially being point man, I'd never sort of look into a room and go, well, I'm transitioning onto my
you'd
pistol.
always be on your first
I'd always
choice.
be on my assault weapon,
Yeah.
right? Because I've got, it's just a way better weapon to have. So if people saw me on my pistol, they would probably know just to clear the room without even talking to me and just look at me to make sure that I've cleared my stoppage. So hand-to-hand combat, we get taught it, but rarely do we use it, and it's pressure points. It's a bit of knife work.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing. You know, people think that we do underwater knife fighting and all that. Listen, if I'm going to double tap you with my assault weapon.
Yeah.
If that stoppage, I'm going to put a 9mm straight into your fucking schwad.
Really?
Do you know, yeah, that's it. Do you know what I mean? And then we're going to clear that room, and then we're going to.
But you have been in scrapes where you've needed the axe or you've needed the knife.
I've not in scrapes where I've needed it, but I've been in. I've used it.
Yeah.
As in, not as in on, but I've gone onto it because I've.
I already knew the answer to that, but there's some proper stories. If you get his book, get his books.
I've gone onto it
book
because
would be
of
the best book to get?
to destroy stuff.
Yeah,
Shall we say?
exactly.
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of necessity, out of survival.
No, out of making sure that equipment doesn't work anymore. You know, for the enemy, to make sure that we're leaving nothing that's operational behind. So we take everything from mobile phones to SIM cards to
once
laptops.
you get in and once
you know. And if you're hitting, you know, if you go on there and you're hitting a drugs factory, you know, they've got all the bowls. You need to go in and destroy everything and make sure
fascinating,
blow it all up,
fascinating.
and then, you know,
Which would be the best book to get this sort of info or this insight?
First Man In, my first book.
First Man In, yeah.
First Man In, yeah.
So that's the one. First Man In. That will give you a massive insight into what actually.
First Man In actually was. I wrote it, and out of this 20 chapters, 17 of them got taken out
Did they?
by the
Yeah, I
military.
can imagine
So I had to
they would, yeah.
rewrite the book and
Too much information.
sort of put it in a format of, you know, what I've been through, and then leadership sort of lessons behind that. And that format's worked really well because everyone else is sort of seem to be adapting that format, that book format now, which is great.
Just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about boxing. Obviously a massive boxing fan.
Yeah, love it.
But what do you think then, with the heavyweight scene?
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua's now seems to be back because
Why?
he's had a
Why
couple of good wins, hasn't he?
I-
Helenius, he beat Otto Wallin, and he's just had that fight with a crossover fight, and Ngannou. You know what I mean?
Ngannou's not a boxer.
Ngannou's
Mate.
not a
It's
boxer,
like we
no.
talk about boxing. Would you know, when it came to boxing, I'd put in a good performance against you, for example. But there's no brainer that you'd outbox me, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but if we went into a street fight, then I'm all over you. Like, you know.
Did you just say you'd put a good performance in against boxing against me?
Yeah. Well,
You think you would?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
You know.
No, and then with the street fight, I mean, I reckon I'd be all right on the street. No, I don't say I'm going to beat you up.
We need to put this to the test.
Shall we have a bit of roll around?
Let's do it.
No, I know what you're saying, but hold your own in the boxing ring and then on the street
and
fight.
yeah.
But I know, so AJ and Ngannou,
Yeah.
that was what it was, a mismatch.
It's an
But
expedition
Tyson
fight, I
Fury
think.
struggled. He struggled bad, didn't he?
Yeah, but Tyson Fury went
Didn't
into
take
it
him
as
serious.
an exhibition
And
fight.
got clean.
Let's be honest, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm not against this whole, you know, sort of people crossover boxing, but it does tarnish boxing in a way.
Yeah,
where,
I agree.
Where, you know, I'm a pure boxing fan, I'm a pure UFC fan, right? I like MMA, mixed martial arts, but keep the two separate.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with Tyson. Tyson, for me, was the best heavyweight champ ever. You know, he just had that. You know, you talk about having a straightener in the ring. He was aggressive. He was, you know, he wanted to kill people, and that's what boxing was originated from. It was two people that had a bit of a disagreeing with each other. It's like, put the gloves on. No, there wasn't any of this scoring and not being tough. You know, that's all come into play, which is great. You know, it's evolved boxing in a way, but that, you know, that hardcore, you know, being able to read someone when they're just about to take a punch, countering that punch, you know, having the hook, whatever it may be, it's almost like a game of chess. But you know, you're going to get hurt if you don't get it right. That's what I loved about boxing, and like I said, I grew up with Tyson. The heavyweight division now, you got Tyson Fury is dominating. I know he had a bit of a dodgy fight. He didn't take it seriously. He went in, but I can't see anyone beating Tyson Fury at the moment.
So what do you think's going to happen with him and Usyk?
He's going to lay all over Usyk. He's going to, he's too big. He's too awkward. He's too. When I look at boxing...
That's what I thought, but I'm on a different opinion now. I'm not so sure. But because I watched him struggle against Ngannou, and I know he's slowing down, he's getting older, AJ. I mean, they're all getting a bit older. But
I think with Usyk, Tyson, he'd do this one last fight with Usyk, he'd come up to the plate, because what you can't compare with Usyk...
So being in the best possible shape now for Tyson will.
And what you can't compare with Usyk and Tyson Fury is the mindset. You know, we talk about your Hall of Famers, we talk about your credible, your real champions, right? It's because they've been through adversity. They know what it's like to be flattened. They know what it's like to come back being scraped off the deck. Do you know what I mean? And you look at, so there's a mindset game here which Tyson Fury beats Usyk all day long. Usyk's, you know, he's confident. He's at a good middleweight. You know, going up to heavyweight. He's beat Anthony Joshua. Let's be honest, quite comfortably. So he's not here. When it comes to that mindset. That's what's going to differentiate Tyson and Usyk, and Tyson all day. I say quite comfortably, but
I'd have said a prime Tyson Fury beats Usyk because he's too big for him. But I think Tyson's on the slide, which I've said in other interviews and in my prediction. And I think Usyk, when you talk about coming through adversity, even though Usyk's been beat as an amateur, and he's just been so dominant as a professional in the cruiserweight division, undisputed unified cruiserweight. Not like your mate Tony Bellew. Stretchered him.
Yeah, I was there. I was at the fight.
You didn't help him, did you?
No, I didn't. I would have done.
But Usyk's a bad boy. He's got massive bags of amateur experience.
No, he's great. No, listen, Usyk is a phenomenal boxer. You know, pound to pound. You know, pound for pound.
And I don't think he's over that edge that I think Tyson's on. But you said to me earlier, which I agree with. Level. Tyson might turn up, and this might be the best last of him.
100%.
A bit like me when I fought Groves at Wembley. I didn't really want, after the first fight, I was about ready to retire.
That's what I'm talking about, the mindset.
This is it. So this could be the last of Fury.
Yeah, I reckon it will be. Right?
If he turns up with that mindset and he's taking his camp serious because he looks in better shape than he's ever
Because
looked.
If Tyson Fury beats Usyk, then is he going to top fight Joshua? No way. Usyk's beaten twice. It doesn't make that makes zero sense apart from for money, right? Which it seems to be going that way. But talking from a war boxing standpoint, he will go in there as if this is his career fight. He's done, you know, and he's going to go in. Trust me, because you know I can relate to the headspace that he's got and that he's been through. He will tip up there and he will get the job done because of the headspace, the mindset that he has that will just slightly outdo Usyk's.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that. I can't go back on what I originally said. I think Usyk's just got his edge. It's going to be a close fight. If Tyson Fury turns up at his potential best, then it's going to be difficult for Usyk. And it'd be fascinating if Usyk loses, watching him lose and watch how he loses.
If he beats Usyk, then ultimately he does beat AJ.
On paper.
On paper, do you know what I mean? It's like because
styles met fights and that's
he's done him twice.
But
and AJ, you know, he's a great fighter, but he's not at that level of.
Well, every time Anthony Joshua's stepped up, I spoke to somebody last week actually. I won't say who it was, but he said every time Anthony Joshua stepped up, he's got beat. He stepped up against Ruiz and got knocked out quite bad. All right, he beat him in the rematch outside, but it was a jab and move and run job. We was there for that one. But he stepped up to that level, he got beat up and done, stopped. Then he stepped up to Usyk level, not once but twice,
Yeah.
and he got beat. Now, if you're of the elite level, that don't happen to you.
Yeah,
if
no.
you're going to go on and dominate.
Yeah.
And Tyson Fury is unbeaten.
Yeah.
He's had that draw with Deontay Wilder, but he's had 2 fantastic wins. If he finishes his career with a win against Usyk, would you say he's probably all-time generational heavyweight great, isn't it?
He
this
has
generation.
To be. He has. There's no.
And he doesn't need to fight AJ.
He doesn't need to
except
fight
for
AJ.
money.
And also, you look at AJ
I still
as
wanna
well.
see
AJ's
that.
young though. Do you know what I mean? He's still got.
He's 32, 33.
He's still, yeah, I know, but he's still got a good few years of his prime in him.
He reckons he's got 2 or 3 years left max. He said.
Yeah, but I reckon of his prime as well, of experience. You can't put a price on experience.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying AJ you can't, but he just happened to be in that era where you've got your Usyks, you've got your Tyson Furies, but he's still got a good couple of years where once these guys, then he can dominate again.
Yeah.
I'm sure he can.
So you're saying when all the good fighters retire, AJ's got a chance?
No, but no, I'm saying he's young enough to, because I like AJ.
He'll come again. No, I do.
And he's been
great for the sport.
And
as well.
also, he has. And he's been through so much, you know, as in the hype, the pressure, the stress.
I think the weight of expectation on Anthony Joshua did get to him.
Immense. Well, you could see the way that he acted after that fight.
After the Usyk loss,
you look at him, and people are quick to judge on that, but you're like, you put yourself into his head, put yourself into his soul, into his emotions. Of course, he's going to be like that. He's got the whole world on. You know, he's not just a UK. He's a global boxer, right? He's got
He's definitely got a lot of pressure on him. But what I'd say to that is he gets paid well. And he was a world champion, so you're expected to get in there and perform under pressure.
No,
and all the elite athletes do.
And that's what I think when you talk about champions, right? And we talked about tier 1 and tier 2, and you know that's where you can almost go. You have got tier 1 champions and you have got tier 2 champions.
Yeah.
Now that title of world boxing champions thrown out there way too easily. Well, I think that they need to go right. You know, because a champ doesn't get beat like that. You know, a champ doesn't go. You know, have that mindset of, oh yeah, it's a good 12 rounds. You know, I learned a lot from it. It's like, no, I should have dominated. I'm the world champion. It's a world champion mentality that I think that differentiates, you know, your AJs and your Tyson Furies.
And Tyson Fury, it's going to be close.
Oh, it's going to be. It's going to be because listen, look at what Usyk's got to.
It might not be close if AJ gets on top of him, leaves him, and destroys him. That could happen. But Fury's not known for being a massive puncher. Yeah. So he might have to manoeuvre him and
But you look at Usyk as well. What he's got to prove. He's going to want to, he's on a good streak as well. He's fit. He's healthy. He's got a good team around him. It could go, you know, like heavyweight boxing, which I love about heavyweight boxing. It takes one punch, and I know it's a bit cliche to say, it takes one punch, but it does.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it's like on
in heavyweight boxing.
It's like on a battlefield, right? And this is why I relate to it. It takes one bullet. One bullet can hit you in the shoulder, and you're still good to go. That one bullet can, you know, it's inches. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're done. You're either done or you're back in the game.
Still back in the game. Yeah, good comparison. Love that. So anyway, before we wrap, what's on the agenda for you? You got anything coming up? You doing anything? I know you've got your SS Australia. Have you got anything you want to tell us about, or is it low key?
Is it the Dancing with the Stars?
Has that been televised yet?
Yeah, that's been televised.
No,
it hasn't been televised. It comes out on Channel 7.
How do we get the SAS Australia, for the viewers that don't know, SAS Australia, if they want to see you on that, how do we get that in the UK?
You can either YouTube it now, once it's done, but it's exclusive to Channel 7.
Channel 7.
So yeah, you have to go out to your channels. You can get it on your VPN.
And how do we watch you make an absolute tit of yourself on the dancing? Or was you dancing with a professional there?
Hey, listen, come on. You know the Middleton machine is got some moves.
You know that. Pro?
You know that.
Is it like Strictly Come Dancing?
Come on, mate. Everything I put my hand to, I'm good at.
No, but my question is, before
you know that. So that's why I talk about boxing as well. You know, just be careful there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But I'm not worried. But listen, when you was doing that silly dancing, I did a dance show with my wife, Rachel.
Yeah.
And we was dancing with each other.
Yeah.
The blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
When you did this Dancing with the Stars, because I'm not familiar with it, do you dance with a professional?
So I was Dancing with the Stars in Australia. Yes, I danced with a pro.
Yeah. So it helps you, doesn't it?
Well, they thought I was the pro.
So we can catch that. It's not out yet.
No, that's not out. So I filmed that. New SAS Australia coming out. K2, my documentary K2 is coming out in the UK. Like I said, I'm touring in the UK in October, November.
Yeah.
And I've got a new book coming out
Yeah.
in the UK, September, October time.
Absolutely.
And I'm sort of going back to my military roots now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going back to that mindset, to what I've done, where I've been. Because I like to continue to write my story. That's why I climb Mount Everest. That's why I climb K2. That's why I do other commissions like $1 Million Island, dancing with it. Because I just like to keep, I like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I always say there's no growth in comfort.
No.
So, but the reason why I done Dancing with the Stars quickly before you wrap is
No pain,
because
no gain.
it was one of those where they said, "Do you want to do Dancing with the Stars?" I was like, "Oh, not really." And they're like, "We found something that Middleton's scared of."
Yeah, really.
Mind games, right? And I was like,
yeah.
scared of that? And boom, they had me. But
Did
no,
you do all
lots
right?
going on, mate.
We don't want to know how you did, if you won or lost, or if you got through to whichever round, but did you do all right?
Like I would, listen, all I'm going to say is like I would do all right
Oh, it's not gone on yet, has it?
in a boxing ring
Yeah.
against you.
So you struggled bad then, you went out in the first round.
But listen, you'll have to watch it and wait and see.
We need a little spy, you know. Just watch the nose.
Just
I like the straight nose.
Not the face. Not the face.
I won't hit you on the chin, you don't hit me on the
Okay,
nose.
yeah, listen, you can't see my chin anyway, so it's
I like you too much to hit you anyway. But no, it's been wicked, man. So, yeah, thanks for
Listen,
for
pleasure,
having a
mate.
chat.
Pleasure. Listen, love it. Love what you're doing, mate.
We've got to go and get something to eat, haven't we?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Have you been on the Froch on Fighting before? Like, have you been watching it? Have you
Yeah, I've been watching it. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're just smashing it.
Smashing
I
it.
love what you've done as well, because you've sort of done you've created your own channel through not being cancelled but just, through being true to yourself.
Yeah.
You've sort of moved away from the nonsense.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, and you've done your own thing, which people love. Like
This is
I said,
where people
the UK are seeing through
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
trial by media. They want just real stuff. They want to be able to relate to it. They want the banter. They want the realness of it, because the silent majority out there in the UK, have the same thought process as us, believe in what
I
we
feel like
believe
there's
in.
a lot of silent people
It's
that are
the
scared.
loud minority,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately, that have been given the voices.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's, do you know what someone said to me, and it was a good pal of mine, when I got sort of cancelled from Channel 4, a year later, or 6 to 8 months later, I'd done a UK tour. I was touring around, and someone said to me, "Wow, and considering you've been cancelled by the TV, you talk about selling out arenas,
smashing it.
Smashing
Yeah.
it, not
That's the biggest arena you've
80,000,
been
but
in front
I was selling out my tour."
Yeah.
And someone said to me, "And it's the bums in the seats that don't
show,
lie,
yeah,
that
that
don't
show,
lie,
yeah.
that show
People
that
wanna listen to you, people are
that people are
supporting you.
still, and that's why I say I love the people of the UK, because I know what they're thinking. I know what what they're going through, and I know what they really, really.
It's like we said
really
earlier,
want.
people aren't buying the bullshit. They're starting to switch on to
they
it.
are,
and
mate,
it's turning
they
around.
I love that.
As much as the pushback from,
Yeah.
who goes heavier, and they keep pushing it.
Yeah.
People, there's a silent few that are scared to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course
Because they
they
sit in the box and like, if
Yeah.
I say this might happen to
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
or
yeah.
I better
Yeah.
do this and stay in lane, and
Yeah.
because they want paying.
Yeah,
They're earning money.
want
But it's
bumps,
wrong, though,
don't they?
isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Because they're scared to be honest, and we're just truth and honesty. That's what we
That's
do
it.
here on Froch on Fighting.
It
We
is.
tell you how it is.
100%.
And that's why I've got the ant machine on.
And that's why I love. That's why we're great friends as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we get on
We're
well
going to be
together.
working together.
Yeah.
Listen, watch this
100%.
space. We've got plans
Lots of plans.
out here in Dubai.
Listen, great to speak
It's
to you.
been
mate.
wicked,
Thank
man.
you,
Loved
mate.
it.
Thank
Loved
you.
it. This has
Cheers.
been another episode of Froch on Fighting. Thanks for tuning in. Leave your comments below after you've hit subscribe, because the comments tell such a story.
Yeah, they do,
And what
yeah.
we've been talking about, if you go and listen to read the comments, you see that people that are in agreement with
Yeah.
the stuff we talk about. And we haven't gone too deep today. We haven't gone too political, but if you know, you know. But thanks for tuning in. As I said, this is another episode of Froch on Fighting with my good friend Ant Middleton. See you next time.
Cheers, guys.